It is my pleasure to introduce Linda Ganister. So who here knows already who Linda Ganister is? I'm raise your hands twice if you have love for Linda Ganister. Linda and her wife Sue have been here since 1987.
Yeah,
It's a while. So staples in our community. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being here. You are an authority on the Ely Winter Festival because you're the treasurer. And we can't wait to hear from you. Give it up for Linda.
okay. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon and all of that. I want to start by reading you the mission. It's the only part I'm going to actually read, so bear with me. The mission of the Ely Winter Festival is to promote activities and events during the 10-day festival that engage local community members and visitors in outdoor activities, arts, music, food, historical events, and other activities that promote the unique culture and location of Ely. And I just want to tell you what the most important part of that mission statement is for me and why I do this. And I just want to also share, I've been with the festival for 15 years. And so why do I do it and why do I keep doing it? For me, the most important word in the mission is community. And I love seeing all the different groups that get involved with the Ely Winter Festival. You know, the folk school teachers, we had Interact Kids in the park one year. We have the bike shop is doing, demonstrations in the park. We have all of these different folks running things for us. Everybody gets to come out. Everybody can be involved if they want to. And it makes our lives better to see those beautiful sculptures, some of them by people we know and work with, and we, see when we're shopping. It's just, that part just truly amazes me. And that's why I do this. This is for us. And if it helps the hotels and the restaurants, all the better, but I don't do it for them. Okay, so it's being rude. Okay, and if you actually can count and you look at our dates, it's actually 11 days, but it works to say 2 to 12, doesn't it? That's a ring. Okay. So the beginnings of the Ely Winter Festival was actually a ski race. Could be. It was called the Wilderness Trek ski race. It was a long race and it was a qualifier for the Berkey, and it was a very big deal. Skiers came from all over the world to ski at that ski race. I believe the first year it started at Hidden Valley like this. This is Hidden Valley. By the time I came here 4 or 5 years later, it was starting in Tower and at Bearhead State Park, and it ended in Ely. It came over the snowmobile trail. It was a ton of work. People grooming the snowmobile trail in the middle of the night, the radio club with their assistants, and the aid stations, people helping people cross the road, stopping traffic where it crossed the road, much like the marathon is today. Eventually, people sort of got tired of running that ski race. Oh, and let's see. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, whoops. Rats. There we go. So in the early days, it was a spaghetti feed, and it was a ski race, and it was an award ceremony. The spaghetti feed was run by the food co-op. How many people remember that we used to have a food co-op? So many years, the ski race was canceled. Not enough snow, too cold, too much snow, whatever. But the spaghetti feed was always packed. So the Ely community came out for that spaghetti feed, regardless of whether there was a race or not. And it was in the basement, the spaghetti feed was in the basement of the community center. So by the time I sort of got involved, Bill and Gloria Miller were the co-chairs of the committee. So how many people remember them? They were a force to be reckoned with, and they had a vision. So at first they turned it into a finish line festival, and the finish line was at the school building, and the festival was inside the old cafeteria, which is no longer there. You could look down at the finish line and watch people come across the line. There was a Voyageur encampment out front of the doors. They had hot chocolate, probably soup. Inside, they started a little craft fair. There was food inside for the skiers, and if you weren't a skier, you could purchase something. There was music. There was art from the school kids. And then from there, they turned it into a whole weekend. I have some old brochures in the hallway. And then from there, it became a 10-day festival, and it was originally called the Voyageur Winter Festival. The Millers were big fans of the Voyageur culture, and you could always see them running around for the whole 10 days dressed in their little Voyageur outfits. They also started the International Snow Sculpting Symposium. I don't know the exact year that started. I haven't dug that deep, but it was international from the start. I believe that the international teams were from Mexico. I'm not sure where else. And then, you know, I'm not covering all the directors or all the chairs because I don't know them all, but Emily Wahlberg and Barb Berglund eventually became co-chairs again. They had another vision, and they really wanted to celebrate more of the local culture and the local history. And they changed the name to the Ely Winter Festival, and they put the sculptures all over town, which some people liked and some people didn't like. And so somewhere along the way, we became Ely's, come on. Ely's largest art festival. We're 10 days, we're 12-foot blocks, we're 8-foot blocks, we're art classes at the folk school, we're concerts, all kinds of art related activities, as well as I like to say it's mostly art and it's mostly outside, which doesn't often sound like it goes together, but here it does. Okay. Okay, the pin. I'm really glad to see Cecilia's here, because she designed probably over half the pins, 13 pins. I found 2 pins from the wilderness trek when I was going through stuff at my parents' house. So they're in this display that's out in the hallway. They don't have years on them. And the first pin that we have found in our office is 96. Anyway, there's a display of all the pins out there. And Cecilia designed the first one. She designed, as far as I know, well, she said 13. And her pins are fun and different. They don't all look the same. You know, you'd think if the same artist was doing them, they would run out of ideas. But the last few years have been done by Nancy Ensley. She lives out at the end of the Fernberg, right? And the pin has historically 3 objectives. 1 was to raise money for the Winter Festival. And 2, we always hope that events will offer some kind of deal for a person who has a pin, you know, $1 off admission or something like that, to encourage sales of the pin. We sort of have gotten away from that over the years. And also to raise awareness. Like people ask you, oh, that's a cute pin you have on. What is that? So it has those three reasons for existence. And this the last few years we've charged $6 for the pin instead of $5, and we give that dollar to support a program an arts program in the school district. So the first year we helped Kelly Chick buy some art supplies. This year, the pin sales is going to support the production of the Frozen show. Okay, and then lastly, a part of the history, I don't know when the Ely Art Walk started. It was originally part of the festival, the festival board put it on, and then they became their own organization. And they are now part of NLAA. And it's a month long now. So they were originally 10 days, the festival length, and now they're a month. Okay.
Art Walk might have started around 1988.
We're a big town we're a small town with a big heart. Come on. Okay. I think I went too many.
Let me help you.
Can we go back one?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so where do we get our money from? We get about $2,000 from individual donors. We get, and that's like Giving Tuesday and Give to the Max Day. And a friend of mine just sent me a check yesterday. We get about $13,000 a year from local sponsors. That's local and regional businesses giving us cash. So for $500, you get a certain amount of exposure on the website, and you get into the brochure, and the levels start at $100 and on up. It's also regional businesses like Lake Country Power. We have a state arts board grant for $25,000, which is huge for us, and it makes it so we don't have to watch every single penny, and we love that. Prior to that grant, we got a festival support grant, which is on pause because of the pandemic. So we expect this grant to go away, but we expect to get the festival support grant. And when we don't, that's very scary to have one source that's giving us $25,000. We get a grant from the Arrowheads Regional Arts Board for $6,000. That's just to cover office things. So rent, part of Shauna's salary, phone, that kind of thing. Our t-shirt sales net us about $1,000 every year. The pin nets us about $1,500 a year. When we did the wine tasting and the auction, we netted about $2,000 from that. And there's a little bit of excitement about maybe we should do that again. And then we get a lot of gift in kind. So our restaurants give us meal tickets that we use to feed the carvers with. They get fed while they're here. They do have to put up some of their own money, but basically the restaurants are feeding them. We have labor, gifts in kind, discounts on advertising. And we love our sponsors. If anyone's interested in being a sponsor this year or next year, there's a tab on our website, how to become a sponsor, and you can do that right now. And you can get on the website. You can't get in the brochure anymore because it's printed. Or next year, think about next year, talk to us. And oftentimes we're creative in our sponsorship. Maybe you give us this and that, and we'll give you this instead, or that kind of thing. I really wish these were Ely people. That would have been super fun, right? To see like Peta and Elton in the especially if we could have put Peta's face on the one in the red dress. And the Grand Ely Lodge is one of our major sponsors. They give us meal tickets, they give us cash, and they give us this room that we hold a carver brunch in. So we feed the carvers their farewell meal here. And the city of Ely is also one of our biggest gift in kind sponsors. They fill these blocks 4 nights, 4 days, 4 times. We have enough to put up, I believe we have 4 8-foot blocks forms for them and 1 12-foot block. So they get put up, they get filled, then they come back, take them down, put them up over here, they get filled. Depending on how many carvers we have, that's 3 or 4 nights or 5. Okay, so where does the money go? The symposium costs about $13,000 all totaled. We spend some money on food. We feed them. We give them a dinner when they first arrive. And we also give them a dinner at the steakhouse. We give them a breakfast here. We give them, yeah, that's it for what the meals that we give them. They get a gift. They get a t-shirt and a pin and some kind of special gift every year. We give them a mileage stipend, depending on how far the furthest person is coming from. So they get, you know, it's probably not going to cover all their expenses, but they don't have to, it doesn't cost them a lot to come here. The international teams cost us more money because we give them a better stipend. And we go to Duluth to pick them up because they're flying in. We sometimes have to pay somebody to do that. We have to put them up somewhere near the park, between the park and the restaurants, because they're walking everywhere. So sometimes we have to pay for that. They generally, an international team generally only comes to 1 or 2 times because it's expensive for them. They go other places. But we almost always have an international team here. And this year we have a team from Germany, and she was here last year as well. And I don't remember where she's staying, but perfect. Her guest house is the perfect place for carvers. And it has the little kitchen. So if they, you know, they get some granola, but they don't have bowls and milk, you know, in a hotel room. So it's perfect. We spend about $8,000 on advertising and marketing. So it's the brochure, it's print ads in regional publications, it's print ads in newspapers. We do a schedule ad every year in the local papers so that you can cut that out and keep that with you. And we publish this, we call it the brochure. It's the schedule and it's coming out tomorrow. So look for it in town, but it's got the schedule. It's got all of our sponsors. And it doesn't look exactly like this. This is last year's. Okay, so that's where we spend our money. So the structure of the Ely Winter Festival, we put on almost no events. We put on the symposium. That's our main event. We also put on, well, Peta single-handedly puts on the kickoff in the park. We put on a couple of small things for the carvers, the dinner and the breakfast. But all of the other events are put on by other organizations, like the folk school. Listening Point Foundation is putting on snowshoe hikes. NLAA is putting on the downtown artist market. The Dorothy Moulter Museum has a couple of events that they host. So we just mainly concentrate on the snow sculpting symposium. There we go. So the symposium is a symposium and it is not a contest. And it is also not ice. I'm amazed that even when people are walking around in the park, they're calling it ice. It's snow. The symposium is different from a contest. If this was a contest, the carving teams would be more private. They wouldn't be socializing. Some contests actually have curtains around the blocks. You wouldn't be chatting with them because they'd be in a hurry to carve the most exquisite carving that they could come up with. They hang out together in the evenings. They like each other. They share tools. They look at each other's drawings. They make suggestions. And the reason that we pulled the carvings back into the park was because they like to be together. And the public likes to just walk around the park. The park is the main thing. So that's the symposium. So there are 8-foot blocks and there are 12-foot blocks, and we call them professional teams. We actually don't pay them, but we do give them some of those benefits. So I have more. Oopsie. So you may know that we always have a pin sculpture, and it has always been at the front porch. And Nancy Scheibe has always done it with a wide variety of Ely friends that she has. But this year the front porch is closed, so we're moving it down to the Progress corner. So it's across from Northern Grounds, which is our festival headquarters. And Nancy also has a slight injury, and she will be carving with her son Wade. So she didn't want to also do the pin. So Jamie Stocks is doing the pin this year with another friend of hers. But this is the side of one of the pins. I don't know which pin anymore. Okay, so events. So in some ways, we do sort of chase down events that we want to have going on. Like we wanted the fat bike demonstrations in the park. We want the camping demonstrations in the park. We, of course, called the folk school right away and said, classes, classes, classes. But most of the events the ideas come from the people who host the events. And so I want you to think about, do you have an idea that somebody else could do? Like, you don't have to necessarily want to run this event that you think we should have. Or if you're an organization, what event could you offer or help with? So lots of events we've had in the past. So there's a table in the hallway with past brochures. We've had dances, we've had ski races, we've had demonstrations, we had sleigh rides one year. I remember that. And there's a person in Cook that's doing them now. So we need to get them down here. Yeah. Coop tournaments. Yes. David Wigdahl coordinated the first few Cube tournaments. And when he went to pass it along to the next generation, they didn't really want to do it. So the art walk, the film festival, snowshoe tours, wine tastings, crafts, fundraiser dinners, listening point, book signings. The college has an open house that actually gets pretty well attended. I always think who'd go to that, but yeah. College tours, live entertainment. There's always been music. There's always been food. Pottery date night, that was last year, I think. Come on, there we go. So there's, just some pictures of some of the events. The craft show, the Courtney S. Minnie is going to be in concert again this year, Saturday night at Northern Grounds and Sunday morning at Northern Grounds. The Dorothy Moulter dinner is right here, and there's our favorite Sherry dressed in the red plaid selling tickets. This is the wonderful kickoff. I can't believe what Peta pulls off. Again, it's community. It's the band. It's the ski club. It's all these people who come out for it. Yeah. Right. If your kid is in the parade, you're showing up, right? There's fat bike demonstrations in the past. We've also had fat bike rides, and that's something we could find again. And there's a snowshoer at Listening Point. Those tours fill up really fast. So if you haven't signed up yet, you should do it yesterday. So these are the kinds of things that we could have somebody offer. Dance party, snow golf, kites on Shagwell Lake. That would be fun. There's a kite festival in Ashland, Wisconsin in February, and they do that out on Lake Superior. Fat bike ride and a polar plunge. Come on. So I'll just say our coordinator, Shauna Vega, is also an insurance person. So we would not be covering the polar bear plunge. Yeah, supposedly. Okay, so who are you going to call? You want to talk about a creative sponsorship idea. You want to talk about an event for next year. You have questions about anything. Well, first of all, if there are questions about anything, you should look on the website first, but talk to Shauna Vega. Shauna, raise your hand. I'll talk more about her later, but she is our paid coordinator. I like to describe it this way: the board thinks of things and she does them. So it's 365 Snow, or it's Shauna at ElyWinterFestival.com. Pretty easy. Come on. Okay, let's make sure I'm on my. Okay, so I just want to say a couple of more things about events, and that is there's an application process. So if you are thinking about an event that we should have or that you're thinking about hosting, you should talk to Shauna. And there's an application on the website. We try hard to make sure that the event fits in with what the festival is. So we're not going to accept all events. You can do whatever you want, but it might not be part of the festival. We also try very hard not to have two things that are alike at the same time. We're not going to schedule two concerts at the same time. So if you talk to her, you'll find out what else is already scheduled or when we think it would go better. Again, talk to Shauna, look at the website if you're interested in what kinds of things we already have and where the holes might be. So now I'm going to talk about volunteers. You know, nothing like this happens without volunteers. We need our sponsors and we need our volunteers. I'm just going to do a brief shout out. You know, and every time you talk about somebody and you miss other people, there's a risk, but I'm just going to talk about some serious volunteers. Patrick Knudsen is putting up the forms in the park with just him and his company. You know, it's 4 or 5 days a week that are 4 or 5 times they're in the park putting those forms up. Then they take them down, they put them up again. They take them down, they put them up again. So big shout out to him. He does that for nothing. We don't pay him. I believe so. Yes. Yes. Luminaries. So we have a virtual army of luminary making, and it's literally hundreds of them. If you haven't been to the park at night, you need to go see those luminaries. So we have an army of luminary makers. We also have a volunteer who lights those luminaries, all of them, every night of the festival. So that's David Stone. And I think he has a friend. Yeah. I'm going to talk about our board members briefly. Some of them are here, most of them are not here. Lynn Evenson is our board chair. She's also with the Mesabi Orchestra. She retired here. Her husband used to work at Outward Bound. Debbie Cook moved here 3 or 4 years ago with her husband. They retired here. She's the vice chair. I'm the treasurer, and like we came here in '87, which is like 35 years ago, something like that. Freya Frankel is our new secretary. She came to Ely last summer to take an internship at Listening Point Foundation, and she is now an employee there, and she's on our board. She's the secretary. Sue Edgington is on our board after retiring she sold her hotel and she got off of the tourism board. So we thought that was a really good fit. Chris Kloppenberg. She's the former chair, and she is also our volunteer coordinator. I have no idea how long you've been in Ely. 15 years? 9, okay. Cheyenne is actually leaving the board. She's a local Ely person who has been doing our merchandise, shuttling t-shirts back and forth to stores and also filling the online orders and getting the pins out there. Jamie Stocks is on our board. She is a national champion snow carver. Like, she has won the national championship. And so she's really helpful with knowing what the carvers want and how to serve them and how to reach new carvers. And we have a new board member. Her name is Jody. She's our neighbor on White Iron, but she lives in Bemidji. But she's a marketing person. So she did our digital ad campaign last year, and this year she's done some of the print ads as well as the radio and the digital ads. So we're going to vote her onto the island tonight. And then we're not letting her off. And then Shauna's not on our board, but she's the doer. Shauna will call anyone. I've never heard her say, no, I can't do that. But maybe I'm careful about what I ask for. So that's the volunteer board. Thank you, everybody. So we are looking for a few particular volunteers. We like to house our carving teams with host families. So if you could be a host family, you generally need 2 or 3 beds. They are fed, as I said before, so you don't need to feed them. They're generally carving in the park the whole time, so you barely need to entertain them. But they actually enjoy staying with their families. And we have probably most of you know the FIFOs. They hosted a family for a carving team for 20 years. And it was so devastating to those carvers when they retired that they haven't come back. We had a setback, of course, with COVID. When you miss a couple of years, then you're sort of out of the rhythm. So I'm sure it's not just the FIFOs that retiring but you can develop a relationship with the team by having them stay with you. I know that Carol Orban has hosted a team, so if you want to talk to her about that, she's not here. I don't know. Yes. Yeah. And if you were able to host an international team, you might have a different team every year, or you might have a year off, but you could develop a long-term relationship with the team if you get along and if they like us and they keep coming back. Also this year, I believe we're still looking for a couple of rides, a pickup from Duluth and a ride to Duluth for the team from Germany. And Shauna would be the person to talk to about that. Late Wednesday night. So like everybody here with gray hair probably doesn't want to drive till midnight. I know I don't. And they're going back to Duluth early Sunday morning. So we might shuttle them on Saturday. So we're probably going to get it. Okay, you want to talk to Sean after? We're probably going to get them a hotel room for Saturday night and take them at a decent hour and just let them get to the airport instead of getting them to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's signups in the hallway. If you're interested in, like, you think this is your next big project, you'd love to be more involved in the Winter Festival, there's a sign up sheet there for the board. If you have a little piece that you would really like to do, or maybe you don't, but you think you could, there's a sign up sheet for being a volunteer. There's sign up sheet for 2 of our newsletters. We have a newsletter for the general public that we probably do 2 or 3 a year, so you're not going to get bombarded. And we have a newsletter for the carvers. So if you're a carver, if you're interested in a carver, you can sign up for that. Again, it's 2 or 3 a year, so you're not going to get a whole lot of emails. And there's another sign up in the hallway. What is it? There's 5 things you can sign up for in the hallway. Oh, if you're interested in being the host family, yep. And then somebody will give you a call and talk about what that means. So, oh, and we need people to staff the warming tent this year. It's basically just making sure there's wood in there and in the stove, and it's not getting too hot and it's not getting too cold. It's the warming tent that the carvers are going to use. It's not the public. You know, make sure the food is there, and you know, there's a trash can in there. Peta has been the coordinator for that.
We have new floor that we built last year, and so the tent is specific to the carvers. And I can, if folks are really interested in staffing that, I can certainly be the point person to like share my list or give you a printout of these are the things you do. But we make sure wonderful flyers, same just all the wood, firewood, and have man brings it, staff it. And we always have sharp tools for splitting and all of those things. So yeah, there are those of us who can walk you through it.
Yes, so if you're interested in helping out with the warming tent, even if it's just one shift, talk to Peta. Also, there's another volunteer here that I forgot to mention, and that's Randy, who does the rack cards all summer, all fall, all winter, and then he puts the brochures around too. So, yay. Okay, let's see what else. I have to mention Carol Orban. She's retired from the board, just retired after 15 years also. She started like the next month after I did. And she's been our secretary all that year, or all those years. If you've been the secretary, you know it's a lot of work. And our meetings are chaotic, and she is scribbling as fast as she can. And she sends us the first draft, and she says, I can't read my handwriting. What does this say? So we love Carol. And she's on her way to Portland, so she's not here, but just a huge shout out to Carol. Where would Ely be without Carol? Okay, I think. Okay, that's it for what I have. If you have questions.
Thanks for all you do, Linda. Hey, I'm just curious why you didn't mention the film festival.
Only because I forgot. Really. And that guy is totally impressive. Like, he is organizing himself like circles around us. Like, yeah, I'm very excited for the film festival. We've already bought some tickets. It's the second weekend. I mean, he picked the second weekend because he knew it couldn't be at the same time as the symposium. So yeah, we're totally excited about the film festival, and I just forgot.
Well, and we heard all about it last week, right?
Right.
A couple weeks ago.
I just wanted to fill in a few historical facts. You know, I worked for the Arts Association from the beginning, and now retired, but I'm just thinking about how valuable that organization was to this activity.
Yes.
And if you ever see Peter Keth around town, it was his idea on my board early on that there be snow sculpture in Ely. And I remember when we were at the board meeting, he said, how about if we have snow sculptures around town? And so we got the city to dump the snow on corners. And we did that for a few years. And, you know, I still have a picture in front of Kurtz Brothers of this big fish that this Boy Scout troop made. It was just a beautiful, huge fish. And of course, it got where, you know, things needed to advance. And so somehow Peter got connected with Grand Marais, and that's where he found out about the wood forms. And that's how those were developed in Ely here. And then, of course, we have Mike Senesio, you know, great snow carver who was so involved in the snow sculpture. And so one thing led to another. And Northern Lakes, I don't know if they still have the small blocks, But
No, we took that away.
you did,
After you were there, that was,
yeah, I know you did it for a few years
yeah,
after.
we still have it.
But we had the 4x4 blocks, that was a contest.
It is
and-
still a contest and it's too late to register this year, but it's not too late to be thinking about it.
But it's still a contest.
No, we took them from NLAA,
Oh, I see.
so we run it
Yeah.
now.
Great, that's great. So, I mean, that provided an opportunity for people and kids and that to get started doing the small blocks. I mean, sometimes we had, senior citizens carving them too. But that was a wonderful, another part of that. And then, of course, then the Millers came on our board and they got they really had big ideas. And so, but Northern Lakes also did serve as fiscal agent for the symposium at one time early on, I think for maybe 2 years. So I'm just thinking that if you're, with Ian Law now doing again, invigorating the Northern Lakes, if you're thinking of a place that you want to donate, become members. That was just, the Northern Lakes is just invaluable to this activity.
Yes, absolutely. And Cecilia was on our board as the NLAA rep. Yeah, you.
I don't remember. A lot I don't remember.
We met at the front porch.
And then as far as the pin contest, Miller's, it was a contest to design the pin for many years. And that's how that all got started. So just for a little.
Yeah.
Historical back.
Linda, how far in advance, anybody who is interested in an amateur block, how far in advance of the festival did they contact on?
December,
December, there you go, market calendars next year.
yes,
Don't think about it until.
right. Right. They start setting them up in early January, and if we know how many there are by then, that's perfect. But you really do it in December. Okay.
I also want to mention that spaghetti dinner at the Catholic Church. It's going to be the first time in 3 years, I think. On Friday, this February 3rd, starting at 4 to 7 ECR. The proceeds go to ECR and what else? I think it's $12 and $11 in advance, and then children are 5 to 12 are $8, and then of course under 5 are free.
And we're so happy to have it back to Ely.
Yeah.
First year since COVID, so we're very excited to have that component back.
And if you go earlier in that time period, then you can make it to the kickoff in the park,
That's right.
which is unbelievable. Okay,
And you can stick around the skate. You can have goodies. We think we'll have a troop representing goodies and hot cocoa. There's gonna be moved to the skating rink for more activities. After the initial production and everything. So it's really a blast. You rest to stay there for a bit, and the carvers are carving, and you can ask the carvers questions. And they do interact with you. So it's just really a cool community time in the park.
cool.
On Friday.
It's
And
very
it's
cool.
great. Spoke up on spaghetti first. And then
How long do the snow sculptures stay in the park after the festival concludes?
They generally stay until they're melted. And sometimes they start melting while they're carving. And occasionally the city will knock some of them down if they become like a hazard, if kids are playing on them and they start to fall apart. But we leave them up. I always thought we should have a contest to see which one still looks like a sculpture in like April.
Yeah, I have a question or Cecilia, Terry, but you've been here a long time, and I remember I think I got it right, but the first Winter Fest source was KAXE came here and run a show upstairs of the community center, then followed by the Muck Ball.
The Muck Ball, I kept forgetting that. That was a staple.
Yeah, and then the ski race and the spaghetti feast, so that must have been
Before me.
40 years ago.
Yeah. That was before me.
Yeah, long ago before I was intrigued. But we did in 14. What drew me north to the festival
was the art walk and the muckluck ball.
Hmm.
And that really drew me in, and then of course the sculptures were there.
Mhm.
That was awesome.
And Patty Steger put that muckluck ball on. She did all of it. You know, and her employees, I'm sure, but
Can you describe the muckluck ball so that we know what to do if we want to bring it back?
you know, there's no place like that to dance with alcohol anymore. So you can't bring it back. It's over. Like you could do that here,
It
but
sounds like a challenge we could.
it has
master.
to, you have to be done here because there are people sleeping upstairs.
What about Tim McKenzie? What about Tim McKenzie's place?
We have had dances and we could have a dance, but the muckluck ball was different. It went till 1 a.m. It was a big blues band that made a lot of noise. There was a lot of alcohol there. Yes. Yeah. And it was at the community center upstairs and that's gone. So I don't know. As soon as I was cleaning up the spaghetti feed and I got out of the building as soon as I could when they started, because I didn't like that music. Yeah. So we could have dances and Tim McKenzie would be a great person to start a conversation with, but again, I'm not sure where, maybe folk school. You folk school had a dance. Senior center, right?
Well, the gauntlet's been thrown down, that's something.
Any other questions or community announcements? I will share that for the next What's Up Ely podcast episode, we actually get to have a quick conversation with Julie Hignell, who talks a little bit more about the spaghetti feed. So if you're interested to get a little bit more info on the spaghetti feed, that'll be coming up. And Jacob talks about the End of the Road Film Festival. Karina talks about the art walk, and I have a conversation with Jess Edberg about the Dorothy Malter Museum fundraiser. So all Winter Festival adjacent topics. So don't worry, there's still more information to consume.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll say thank you so much to Linda and the Ely Winter Festival.